I come from Turkana County, and I have my leadership team here. So we are here. Now, just to say something, because I will not get time later on, as a priest, we've been having Catholic masses for all the Catholics in the UK. Unfortunately, we have even non-Catholics coming for those masses. We have them 3 times in a year. This year we are going to Manchester. The only thing we are lacking is we don't have an established chaplaincy in this country, but we have volunteered to join with our people spiritually. I actually joined with a group in Bristol as their chaplain, and we have taken places to join with them. So, thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred, because you brought us here during the task force led by Dr. Mutava Musiemi. I was a contributor. I'm an academician, and in terms of qualifications, I'm a head of safeguarding adults board. I oversee safeguarding at Barrowide. When we say Barrowide in the UK, it means somebody very senior, if I can understand. I'm a board advisor. You may have seen in Channel Islands, I'm advising there. In UK, I'm advising there. And when we talk of collaboration, we saw Dr. Mutava Musiemi through the commission of His Excellency President Ruto was sent over here. We sat together with the other board members, and we're trying to do cross-pollination in terms of how can we safeguard churches, how can we safeguard children, how can we safeguard adults, because churches are a place of belonging. In a nutshell, youth is also very much inspirational. Mr. Andre has invited us, and I'm here through his invitation, because as a leader, you need to submit. We've been in Luton for the last 27 years, and we've continued to gather that community and to honor leadership. So thank you so much for having us. We have the youth, please give them an opportunity to be able to tell you where they feel that we can raise awareness. I know Madam the parliamentary leader for Kitsui, you said just a brief synopsis, and they looked at me because they like adhering to protocols, and I said I'll request permission that you just give them 3 minutes each, so that even if they came up there and they spoke to us a little bit of how they feel, because our chairman was very kind to say, not all of us experience, and I'm a grandmother, my 2 sons are married, but I did not teach them Swahili for many reasons that you need to understand and collaborate, and understand that sometimes language itself can be a barrier. I can speak Swahili, but they don't speak Swahili. So the moment you switch to Swahili, and it's something to learn, because our chairman as well, Mr. Andre, is bridging that gap. He's got Susie as our teacher for Swahili for our children. But it is important to understand the barriers in terms of the local needs. So thank you. Will you kindly allow the young people to just introduce themselves and speak a little bit to us? 3 minutes each. Thank you.
Sorry, probably in the next government, probably we'll have a fully-fledged ministry. You never know. And so ours is just to listen, get your views on what we need to improve on, and equally to say things that probably the embassy is doing. Sometimes also we just want to hear that the embassy is also doing ABCD. So here to some Karibuni. We want to hear you. And for those who think that we're not writing, everywhere we go, we have a secretary. And when you come to Bunge, we have what we call the Hansard. Sometimes you may think that we're not writing. But if we are here before a committee in Parliament, everything you speak is recorded. It's on Hansard. So sometimes when we retreat back as a committee, then we go back to some of those clips and speeches and ask the secretary to draw from those discussions. So even here today, we have a secretariat from Parliament attached to this committee who's taking notes. 2, we also have a parliamentary liaison officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that is here with us. So it's not that we just discussing and listening and then just go and wait. When you go back, this team, the secretariat down will sit down and say, what did we hear? What did they say in the report? And then we now tell it in Parliament, give it to the ministry concerned. That's how actions. So you're not coming here in vain. We're here on taxpayers' money. So we need to report back to the taxpayer back home that we went to London, we were in Paris, and this is what we have seen, this is what we've done. Above all, of course, why we're here also is also our mandate as a committee to oversight what this mission is supposed to do. Remember, we give money to the mission through the Parliament Ministry. And so we want to ask them that the amount of money we gave you this last financial year, how was it utilized? So as we sit here also, CCP and Motorium, we are your eyes to ensure that the resource that you give back home as taxes and remittances is utilized properly. Also, we want to hear from you and tell us how we need to undertake, improve. I know you talked about the issue of 48 county. When the speaker was there, he mentioned and he actually said we have the constitution. The counties are already numbered from 1 to 47. And that's why it can't be now officially, formally be put there until we have a referendum.
Let's do it.
Yes, really. That's what I'm saying. When it's going to come? When it's going to come? That's the time now your views and your memos and your petitions will be taken into context. But of course, for now, informally we know that there's the 48 county, which is the diaspora. So even that noise of saying we need to have the 48, it helps, it builds, so that when the review, the constitution comes, someone will know, okay, we need to have the diaspora as 48 county. So that time will come. Of course, so many things need to be changed in the constitution. So that could be one of it. And that's the time now probably the views and the concerns will be taken care of. And because of the fact that we have a State Department now, if there's a review or anything that's going to happen in the country, the views of the diaspora must be added. So there'll be a team that will come down and see what needs to be done. Not only on the issue of that, but on many aspects of the constitution. Yes. So we know that. So I think that's a huge number. And so we want to hear from you. Last time we were here, we discussed about the issue of IBC. There was also a challenge. When we met with the committee, we had statistics from IBC. That's the team that came was shown that look, you want us to put more polling stations, but what happened last election? How many voted? You couldn't believe it, isn't it? So the numbers were too low. And they say, but look, you did not participate. And now you also want more polling stations. But the few that we already have, people do not count. Do not have. So the same thing that needs to be looked at. So I think it's important that London is very key. And the numbers need to speak by itself. So let's also ensure that we have more people that register. So when they come, they're able to know that these are the people who are available to vote. So otherwise, this is your fault. For us, we want to hear. Everything that you say, we document it. You have our staff, you have a rep from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You go back, we review it. But above all, just to meet, and engage and discuss, and is also equally important. Si lazima tuseme tuko na shida. Even just coming together and having a cup of tea and say, oh, we met with the MPs from Kenya and we had a cup of tea and we discussed, Hata hiyo pia ni maendeleo, kweli? Yeah. So sometimes it's not about when you meet problems. No. You can just have lunch together, coffee, tea, and that's it. But I think it's important. The young minds who are here, very critical. You saw the lady saying, look, we don't have to do with what happened back home, no tradition, no nothing. And they're lost. So I think, Chairman, we need to see how that gap can be cultural day. Yeah, so you can have days of cultural days. When we have holidays here or national days, probably have somebody to speak to them, something like that. Sometimes it's good to speak the Queen's English. Very good. Tradition is very, very important. So it's very good to really go along all these things. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter. You can never be an English person. At the end of the day. That's how I want to do it. Even those white men who come to Kenya and stay, at the end of the day, they know they're white men. White men. So what is even here? Let's remember that you can never be in their culture. And so I'm glad that the young people here are feeling it. We just need to understand it. Very, very important. We were in Paris. We met a few of the diaspora. The good thing is, they told us some of the ladies, most of them, get married to Kenyans, priority number one, amongst themselves. And they say, if you don't get Kenyan men, they say they go to African men. So they are tired. Kenya first, Africa, they miss it, then now they go. So that's also a good tire. I'm not saying you discriminate. You find your the love outside Kenya or outside somewhere else, but that's the kind of tire that you have. That goes if they are cohesive and you have a community. That's helpful. So I think it's very, very important. Let's help one another, understand our culture, and get to know what is going on back home. So when we have a discussion on Monday, of course, we will also discuss with them and some of the things that we hear from you. So they can, because this High Commission here represents Kenyans first. We are the Kenyans. We are the Kenyans. So they represent our interest. That's so Monday we will discuss that. So otherwise, I'll give it back to the chairman to moderate. Let's not take a lot of time. I'm told that you guys also have a function for the outgoing gentleman who's going to Mexico. And also use the same opportunity probably to welcome the current High Commissioner. High Commissioner will also vetted him. We sent him to Vienna. Now he's here. So I think it's part of also looking at
forward for the youth in terms of collaboration. I think when it comes to collaborating, it's one of the most practical ways that the Kenyan government can, work with us as the youth. We have the skills, we have different perspective, we have the education, but most of all, we have networks. So I think it would be great if we would be able to, collaborate with the with the Kenyan government and just work together and see what we can do to help the youth and, progress and move on and move further. So yes, thank you.
Hi, all protocols observed. Thank you all for having me here. Thank you so much. So my job, I work for Central Bedfordshire City Council. But in that, I work in a college. I am the head of legal for SEN students. That's my job. Here, today, I'm here to represent the youth. I feel like, as a Kenyan, actually last year, I experienced a wedding. And I was shocked. So much tradition. There's so many things that I did not know as a woman, and even as men. The traditions and how we are meant to follow things through. And I feel like, as youth here, we have the education, but when it comes to tradition, we tend to get lost. Yeah. Because there's a barrier in terms of what we do in England and what happens back home. Mm-hmm. And when our parents, they come here, or when people do come here, we tend to kind of just skip past that and tell us, this is what we're doing, rather than explain why we need to do it and how we should do it, so that we can actually have the understanding. And so much so that, I'm going to speak for myself, if I was to have a child, or when I get married, I would be lost and I'd be looking at my mom, asking her to explain every step of the way. And I feel like that's the thing that we are missing in society today. I feel like when it comes to, yes, we have been colonized, but we don't conform to that.
Yeah.
And I think that what I don't like, and I'm going to say I don't like it, and it's very harsh of me to say that, but I don't like how just because we are in England, we've lost our tradition in the youth.
Yeah.
We've lost our culture in the youth, so much so that we can actually conform to being English, because we don't have that. And I wouldn't say necessarily that it's all our parents' faults, because we also can ask questions, we also can be inquisitive, but I do feel like we need a little bit of help, and that's what's missing. So that's what I've come here today to.
Hello everyone, and honorable members, karibuni sana United Kingdom. My name is Lisa Ndegwa, a Kenyan from Mount Kenya County, Nyeri County. I work for a property developer. I'm one of the commercial leads. I'm also a co-founder of Bushy Foundation, a community-led initiative that works in Kenya. And I'm here to listen to our honorable members and engage further and see how we can align and support you as well. Thank you.
So as I said, my name is Councillor Njore Kimani, elected councillor in Farnham Royal, one of the wards in Berkshire, close to Windsor. 12 years of trying before I actually got it, so I have a story to tell. In fact, I'm in Bristol on the 25th to speak to the youth about resilience. I'll be there. I've been invited. There's also another councillor, Councillor Daisy Diallogue, who is also our youngest councillor elected here in the UK. So we are a few of us. Like I was saying, I'm a Rotarian. I chair the International and Foundation Committee. We supply a lot of disability equipment to Rwanda and Kenya. I've just come back from Kenya where we delivered the 5th container November last year. So a lot of impact in those communities in Kikari, up in the villages. Here I'm a board of trustee at International Tree Foundation, where we plant trees in Africa. We've just been awarded $500,000 by the Water Forestry AFR 100. We're the partners that are doing the tree planting in East Africa. And our patron is the king. So sit in the high places by the grace of God. I also sit as part of the scrutiny panel for the police in Berkshire. So I had someone here mention that they're also involved in the police. Yes, my fellow comrade, my fellow politician. I sit in the scrutiny panel, community policing, advising and also scrutinizing some of the work that they do in the communities, representing the black people. I'm a member of political parties, that's how I got elected. And I'm also an entrepreneur. I run a telephony solution which employs people in Africa. So my brand is We Connect Africa. It's a telephony solution. Some of the people here also use my services. And we employ people in Africa who operate as though they're here in the UK. I'm also doing some work with AI, with the young people in Kenya, helping them with some of the work that they do with Outlier and Marco and stuff like that. What else do I do? There's one more thing that I do that I wanted to say.
East Africa.
Yes, I'm a proprietor, co-founder of Informer East Africa, which is a newspaper that has been running here in the UK for the last 16 years now. Fully fledged, registered as a printable newspaper with an international printing number. I also do technology. I'm advising the Kenya Revenue Authority on IT and data management. And I'm also taking my services to Uganda, Rwanda Authority, and Revenue Authority, and Rwanda Revenue Authority. I just had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago to roll out data management practices. Here, I'm a data consultant and a thought leader. I'm advising the councils. I was selected by Microsoft to advise 100 councils in the UK on data management.
I live here in Bromley, Southeast, and I come from Mathera. Here I have my 9 to 5. Let me start with my 9 to 5. I work with council. Council. London
You come from Mathera?
Mathera.
Wamunyoro?
Wamunyoro. My former MP, Wamunyoro, yes, there. So if you're coming for tea, first you can pass by my place for tea. 9 to 5, my 9 to 5 job, I work for a local authority. I'm the performance lead, borough-wide. And for the other bits of the community work, I wear 2 hats. I serve the people of the Southeast, we call Southeast London,
When we serve Kent area, we serve the Sussex area. So there's an interplay with Kise. We're one of the 27, I mean, the 27 groups that Agri was talking about. We serve the local communities with various needs. And also serve at the Kenyan Diaspora Technical Working Group. This is a group we come to you in terms of electoral lobbying and participation. People who do not know, probably you've seen some media that's going on about IBC that's coming on the 28th of May. We are part of the group that we are facilitating that so that we can start participating, we can start having a voice, lending a voice for participation. So I'm hoping that there's a questionnaire that's closing on the 30th. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we have the presentation, but it's important that we all lend our voices so that we own the outcomes. Thank you very much.
But I like it because you're doing so much for the country here. So let's support one another. For us, as parliamentarians, we want to ensure that the welfare of Kenyans is taken care of by the executive. So, sometimes thank you very much, you and my colleague there also. So keep the Kenyan flag high. That's all. But I wish you all the best. So take it away from there.
I want you to be blunt with us and tell us. Let me start by saying that I'm from Trans Nzoia as well, in Kitale, so we share a common place. Cherengani is not far from where my house is, in the village. Let me start by saying that we have Kiswahili lessons that we initiated all across the country that run for all our children, and they are free. The teachers are in Kenya, the coordinating teacher is here in this country. But those ones, we've initiated them through sponsorship by the Kenyan Diaspora Media, TKDM, a group that Halima also works for. But we brought this issue up a few times, even with Madam Roslyn Jogu, and said that sponsorship is only for a period of time. Now we've created that. I think we would like to see the government take ownership of that and support that particular project to make sure that it's sustainable for the future. And within that project, I think because it's worked, we can also bring in cultural teaching of our culture for our children. They've articulated very well, and it's an issue that as KCCC we've even discussed it. How can we best teach our children culture? I remember in one meeting with Madam Roslyn Jogu, we discussed it, and we looked at, for example, countries like Rwanda, Israel. They usually have a center where any children who are born in the diaspora, they can always go there and very quickly learn about their country history. And that's an area where we can look at, establishing something of that sort for our children so that they don't feel really lost without an identity. Kiswahili has really given those who have attended a sense of ownership. They feel Kenyan, they really want to relate with their motherland. And you can see the difference from the time a child starts to the time they finish, for example, their first sessions of the lessons. Their introduction is they are proud to introduce themselves as Kenyans. So I think if we put culture there, it enriches that kind of resource. The other challenge that I'm seeing here as chair is around social welfare for our people. Now, we've had a lot of care workers, for example, come into Kenya, and nurses. And one area that we targeted just to kind of assess is the students. So we had some webinars with the students to equip them with life skills, for example, how to manage their finances, how to manage their mental well-being, and things like that. And it really helped by signposting them to the communities. So the core issue here is community. We as KCCC, we have community established already. But many people who come from Kenya don't know about the communities. So they come into this country, they are lonely, they don't know where to go. And one area we would like the government to help us is to help us with a pre-departure kind of package, just so that people are equipped with the skills and the knowledge of their geographic location where they're going to land. And the more important, also just link them up with the community. So for example, if somebody's coming to Oxford, we have a chair in Oxford, or a community that is established in Oxford. They can be told, you're going to Oxford, there's a Kenyan community in Oxford, and this is their contact. So that when they arrive now, they don't have to go through loneliness. We had a very sad incident in Reading, where a Kenyan died in the streets as a homeless person. And the Reading has got a very vibrant Kenyan community. Actually, I would say one of the biggest Kenyan communities is Reading. When I looked into the case of this gentleman, I found that she was not attached to the community at all. I think, and he hadn't been in the country for long. He had been in the country for a while. Just a case we demonstrate that it's important for people to know this community and this that support around them when they come to the UK. It's not like when I came, I think about 30 years ago. When you saw a black man across the street, you wouldn't even want to know that he's Kenyan or whatever. You just cross the street to say hello to them, and then the rest you find out. Now we are well-established community as Kenyans, and we can afford for our people who come here to know that they have a community around them. There is also the issue of remittance. I would say the UK is the second largest in terms of remittance. But we as diasporans, we do not feel it. And I would say this because 2025, we had about 9 Kenyans who died, Kenyans who live here, who died. And this year, year to date, with the information I got from one of our partners, TKDM, we have 8 Kenyans who have already died. And as community care, I get involved in the evacuation of everyone who goes back to Kenya. The sad thing is that our national carrier, Kenya Airways, we don't use Kenya Airways. Why? Because it's one of the most expensive to evacuate. We actually use British Airways. And I've spoken to Balozi, even the previous Balozi country, and said, we do remittance. Why can't we partner with the government so that part of what we remit is put aside as an insurance so that when a Kenyan person is fraud, that can be used as supplement for the, just to return. So that's an area where I feel, we can look at, and it would really ease, the burden on Kenyans. Now, there is a lot, and I don't want to take a lot of time to speak because I'm privy to a lot of information, but I would like to give a chance to everybody does at least to say what they want to say. But just one more before I sit down. We, as diasporans, again, I'll go to the issue of remittance. We remit a lot, but we do not have any representation either in the upper house or the lower house where policy is being made. Now, those who are making policy about diaspora, they are not even diasporans. So we would just like to ask if you can find how diasporans can actually be represented by a diaspora, even if it's a upper house or a lower house. One way diasporans to be represented so that when policy is being made, at least we are part of policy shaping, and especially policy that affects the diaspora. On a good note, I must say the relationship between us and the mission here has been very good. We've had good collaboration in terms of consular awareness. Last year, we had about 5 sessions of consular awareness all around the country virtually. And they were very well attended. We still have 2 more sessions to run with the Alicent to raise that awareness to our people. And it makes a big difference in terms of doing that. I think another area that we need to look at is when we have meetings like this, we could actually have a wider reach by making them virtual, utilizing technology to make them virtual. We tried it once when Ambassador Catherine was here, but we can facilitate that. We are living now in a very modern era, and that can help us to have even a wider reach, and we can have some of us come here, but those who cannot will be able to attend virtually. And I'm saying this because some of my chairs are in the Channel Islands, some of them in Scotland. Them coming all the way to London for a meeting like this, they can't justify it financially, unless the government has some money that they can give us. It's a request as part of them their air ticket and then accommodation. That would really help. So when just before I sit down, around consular services, they flagged off the mobile consular services across the UK. But I think when I find out there's been constraint around that because of finances, when I ask them why they can't have as many consular services across the country, it's because of money. Again, I've heard that you're the people who authorize that money. If you can authorize, because a lot of people are not able to get their documentation because of having to make a long journey to London. And people came to this country to work, majority of them. And we know that the documents are important, but when we look at the cost and the logistics of travel, it's kind of a constraint to them. So my humble request is that if we can fund those services more,
elections last year, last election 2022, diaspora votes were counted under constituency 291 and also under county 48. So our votes, and we were combined with prisoners in Kenya. We want to remove the prisoners. Prisoners don't belong to county 48, I must say. We want the prisoners out. County 48, so as IBC stands, last elections, County 48 was a polling station for County 48, and our votes were counted under constituency 291. What we are asking is, can we legitimize these two organs so that they will give us an opportunity to be able to feel represented, like what you say. So if constituency 291 is recognized, then we can have a representative in the National Assembly and a representative in the Senate. I don't think we're asking too much for people who are contributing 670 billion Kenya shillings every year to the country. That's not too much to ask. So that's what we are saying, and we just want a very honest discussion. We were told, oh, you know, referendum, you can't have it. But we are hearing there will be referendums to change some things which are not really important, you know. There will be referendums for other things in Kenya, but nobody wants to talk about a referendum to give diaspora what we've been fighting for all these years. So please, we are asking, you can take the lead in this, and I did put it in writing. You have a petition in your offices. Let's work on getting constituency 291 formalized, county 48, so that diaspora, when we speak, we have our own representative in Kenya. Let me tell you something about the High Commissioner, Deputy High Commissioner we are saying goodbye to today. The reason he became the Deputy High Commissioner here was through our lobbying, right? We had agreed, even before the election in 2022, we were on different camps. I've always been an Azimio, and I'm not apologetic about that. And he and many of my colleagues are in Huda, which is okay. And we agree, Kenya Kwanza. And we say, whoever comes to power, let's fight for diaspora interest. What is our interest? Number one, we want attaches like commissioners to be appointed as people who live in diaspora. And so, and I say thank you to this government that was honored that we actually got a Deputy High Commissioner here who was one of us. So this became like home. When we walk here, you are going home because this is the guy we have been with here for the last 20, 30 years. You understand? So it makes a very big, and that let me say, we feel sorry that he has to leave so soon because there is just so much still to accomplish. You understand what I'm saying? But it's okay. That's a government process. But we are saying we need to see more of that. We want to see the embassies, the missions being staffed with people, some of us, our people, because they understand us more than people we get from outside. And that's really, I think everybody would understand that. Someone who has lived in London will know where it pains than someone who has just come in, right? So we are that, and thank you very much for that. The other thing I want to say, welfare, yes, time. About welfare, I work, we have gone through, we feel like undertakers, taking people home, doing changos, and we decided to say, let's have insurance. So I actually, this is my day job. I'm a director of an insurance company called Bideview Insurance. We're actually the ones hosting the event today. And what we are saying is to Kenyans, the time has come, especially our youngsters. They don't know these things about Michango or Rambe. Let's take insurance. So when we lose a loved one, we can facilitate repatriation. And we got recognition from the Kenyan government, Diaspora Affairs. They said, yes, we are now going to work with Bideview Insurance in case of any matters concerning repatriation and all that. So all I'm asking my fellow Kenyans, let's get ourselves insured. Yes, we know Mchango, but they don't. They are not going to be part of the Mchango culture. So I think that's really, really very important. And going forward, I'm just saying, karibuni sana. That one is still waving the time. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would really like us to continue this conversation. I will leave after now because I'm being called on the other side. And hopefully, I hope you come. Okay? You are really welcome to come to the farewell. Okay? Can you arrange that? Yeah. So thank you very much. Okay. Yeah.
So let me try and be very quick. And I know Chair got a lot of here. The issues in the diaspora are divided into three. So we have what we call the political and governance participation, which is exactly what you are hearing here. There is the issue around financial participation, the economic, and then there is also innovation, training, capacity building, and you know it. And then the third one is the issue of the social and the cultural, which we've touched on. So let me just brief you, Chair, on a few areas, and I know we've got a paper which we shall give you because we can't give you most of this, where we've put our prayers. But I just wanted to highlight two things. In March of 11 to 14, we were in the Parliament precinct and we met you with the committee, and in that meeting there were two things that we were discussing. One was the expansion of the diaspora polling centers and a justification, which you've actually clearly said there was a dichotomy whereby if we are to give you more diaspora voting polling stations, and we've seen the numbers that are very low, why would we give you an addition? And I think we are here to really justify that there are two aspects to this. One is the cost, that it costs a diasporian to go and vote in a particular place. So that if you took, for example, the UK, if you come from Scotland, or you come from the Northern Ireland, if you have to come to London to vote, it will cost you roughly around, we calculated actually, it is 70,000 Kenyan shillings. That's one trip. And that means you have to come for verification, you have to come for the voting, you have to come for the registration. So that means it's 3 times. If you take a family of 2 or 3, then you can see the numbers that go up. So the cost is prohibitive. There is also the issue around the accumulation of diasporians. The chair has just told you that there are some Kenyans who are in Reading, many of them, and you've seen the representation here. The unfortunate bit is that there is no correlation between the population density of diasporians in the diaspora in a country with where the voting polling station is. So what we are asking for is, while the High Commission, the consulate, and the embassies are designated places for voting, we are asking for the flexibility of IEBC to provide us with what we call mobile clinics for registration. They could go to Scotland, They could go to Northern Ireland and register people rather than people coming to this particular center. And that one will save a lot of cost when it comes to the cost of voting, and it will encourage people to go and vote. The other point that we want to bring across is the issue around how do we make sure that we get the voter apathy in terms of people wanting to register and so forth. When you look at the timeline that we were given, it was for 15 days. When you look at the enhancement program that is going in the country, it is 30 days. So we are saying, give us at least 60 to 90 days, so that it allows people who are working, people who are in different areas, to have the time to go and be able to register. So the time window, again, Chair, it's a problem, whereby that window is so short for diaspora, and it comes in December, where we are supposed to be actually almost on holiday and nobody's even around. So you find that's a little bit of a problem. Then there are two other aspects just before I come to my summary, whereby when it comes to the remittance, if you look at last year, we had 650 billion Kenya shillings that was remitted. In fact, that's above. Now, what we are saying is that when we remit, the exchequer takes a percentage of that amount, either in taxation or either in some other aspect. The question that we are trying to put across, Chair, is there a percentage of that remittance that can be ring-fenced for the facilitation of these embassies, the High Commission, and the kind of services that we are looking for? Because we will come back to you still, if you go up there with good grace of God, as the Vice Chair of the committee, we'll come back to you again and say, give us money, give us money. But we're saying no. If the remittance can be our silver bullet, let a percentage of that remittance be brought back into the facilitation of these services that we have. And then lastly, Chair, we have seen the issue around the diaspora wanting to be part of this particular ecosystem of helping embassies to be able to function well. We know that there is a cost component, and I know we discussed this, whereby if the State Department of Diaspora was to bring their staff here as diaspora representative, it might be costly for the budget. But what you've seen here, we've got skill sets that can complement that skill set that is missing. And Mr. Chair, let me give you an example. When you look at the issue of cyber diplomacy, our very able ambassador, Ambassador Figo, when he goes around the world to talk about cyber diplomacy, he cannot go everywhere. But Chair, with my skill set as a person who is in cyber, we could complement those kind of skill sets that are required for this kind of. So if we have an arrangement and framework that works where we complement the needed advisory skill sets in an embassy, it will be a very worthwhile idea. And then lastly, we've talked about the youth, we've talked about the young people. There is what we call the intergenerational gap. The young people, what they think and what the other generation think, there is a gap in between, Chair. So what we need to do is that while we're looking at the welfare of Kenyans in every part of the world, let us also look at the conversation of intergenerational gaps across the piece, so that we can have a full representation. Lastly, Chair, we've pushed IEBC, as we advised. We are going to have a discussion with IEBC on the 14th of May, where we want a dialogue of all diasporians around the world to discuss with IEBC on their pertinent issues. We know we cannot bring them to your doorstep, because in your case, you're looking at the budget, but for the IEBC, we want to discuss the specific area. And specifically, there's one area of the issue around the interpretation of the IEBC when it comes to an embassy, a high commission, or a consulate being the only place where voting can take place. That interpretation, Chair, is the one that is in dispute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Businessman in the UK. And the matter that I want to raise today is very, very deep. And it's about creating trust, creating confidence for Kenyans abroad who want to invest back home. As I said, I run two entities, that is Affinity, let's say in the UK, and also Jungle Dwellers in Kenya. The mission or my push is to create employment to my fellow Kenyans at home. And I have about 4 staffs who run the office in Nairobi, and I have 2 in the UK. But people that we trust, they plan together and they perform a heist in the company. Late last year and early January this year, I've lost about 5 to 7 million Kenyan shillings. That is somebody who sits in Nairobi. This matter is in the police. The OB is there. The statement is there, but they haven't been arrested. Now, if the company here in the UK suffered the loss and it owns part of the shares in the company in Kenya, do I now go to the anti-fraud team in the UK to go for the team in Kenya? But if I go that route, it will put Kenya into a high risk region for investors. If this case does not get a call, I'll be banned from running a travel company entire my life by IATA, that is International Travel Authority Association. And the company I started in 2019, I was hit during COVID. I brought myself as the shortest airport Maasai in the UK. I ran across the streets of London, Sydney in Australia, Berlin in Germany, in US, wearing Maasai attire, mentioning about magical Kenya. So, how is the government going to help you? The case is with the police. They haven't done to get any action. Where? So that's a question that I really need to be answered. And where is my life after the haste? And how will other investors or Kenyans in diaspora want to create employment back home have confidence? Two is about licensing. I have held Tourism Revenue Authority license since 2020 in Kenya. And I moved the shares in 2024 to the UK. And I still got the license, I still got the license in 2024 and 2025. When the haste happened, I think there is a gazettement that happened that any company that has its share owned abroad will not be given the license, or this is the amount of money they need to pay. And I asked myself, what a coincidence. A haste has happened in Kenya, but again, is this somebody influential who is going to change this law so that I'm affected? Or I'm pushed to move the shares from the UK now to Kenya because in court, the law in Kenya may not hold them accountable. I'm a very distressed Kenyan. And lastly, I want to mention about bank. The money that was moved from one of a bank that we opened. And to some extent, I felt the proper KYC wasn't followed. And I requested them to close the account when I sense things are not working well. Last week, part one, I went to them and I said, can I have the documents that were used to open the bank account? And they came back to me and said, they cannot issue those documents simply because they have been archived. They have been archived. Bank documents archived. They cannot be traced. I mean, those are questions that need a lot of answers. Please help us with that. Thank you.
Getting that as a pushback. But that is one of the things that, in as much as, yes, we only had about 444 voters, we also need to understand what's the root cause. Because one of the things is, yes, let's for example, we had just one center here. Now, can you imagine your constituents in Mandera, they're asked to come to Nairobi at their own cost. I'm sure a lot of people will not participate because there are challenges, as Dr. Koya said. So one of the things that we are looking at this as a multi-pronged approach. We as the diaspora working group, we're working to ensure that we have that civic education. So that we have that civic education so that we can push, so that people can understand and can vote. But we also need your support to ensure that the funding, the structural, the structures are there, so that the funding is there. Last time we only had a 15-day window. Other countries that vote, like Turkey, they have about 30 to 90 days. That is the international So that is one of the things that I think if you support us with the funding, because we went to IBC and they were saying, hatuna pesa, ongelesha wale wako na pesa. So that is one of the things that we need, from our end, we are willing to work to ensure that we support the civic education, but from your end, we need your support to ensure that, and as even Dr. Agri said, that about having those mobile, having that funding so that even the mission can support some of those things. So that is what we ask them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we're going to link to our page, that is to the Football Association group. And so to say, if we want to talk to IEBC to come and do probably civic education or anything, where are you going to get these people? Yeah, give some funding to the youth wing and everything. We organize a big tournament. Come talk to these people there, meet them. Mental awareness. We are running this football not because we are professionals, but because we want to bring all Kenyans together. Most people are struggling with their shifts and everything, school fees and this. So we need to come to a common ground where we can talk to each other. Just that realization of coming and I meet Adi from Trans Nzoia, and it's like, okay, how about Natembe? Only that one will make you feel at home. And that is now where we need collaboration with these people, the High Commission, everyone, the sponsor. And you've mentioned TKDM. They are the ones who mostly sponsor the fields and everything and the broadcast. Why don't we get to collaborate with the High Commission? You can allocate them the funding for the youth affairs and everything so that we can be coming together. Everything which needs to be pushed in this place can be pushed through that for us, because that is where we get numbers. We visit almost 5 cities during the summer. Each, I think the last time when Catherine was the ambassador,
yeah,
we met in Slough, and we had consular services in Kona.
Yeah.
But then when we requested them to come to Gloucester, they said we might not be able to do that because of the funding. Why don't we just make sure we have this funding to these people, so that at least we can get these services at our place? I took 2 hours, 30 minutes to be here. Okay, I can do that. What about someone else? Yeah. Even if it's voting, they need to come all the way. Why don't we try and see how we can equip every city or the major cities around, so that people can be going to where they are closely, where it's closely available, right? Why don't we do that? Let's collaborate in this part. Let's expand the youth wing. Let's bring all of us together in the spirit of togetherness. Thank you.
It doesn't matter how many times you connect. It doesn't matter how many representatives you send. It doesn't matter what you say. We feel, as a diaspora community, we are not valued. We are spoken about only when it suits the Kenyan government. When it doesn't suit them, we're just another bunch of people out there. And by the way, that is not a representative of the Kenyan government. It is a representative of the people of Kenya. And I speak here with a lot of confidence, because I have met a lot of Kenyans in very senior positions, as well as in positions that are not so senior, and even William Mdogo party. Some of the statements that come from the community, from people of the high positions, are very derogatory. Wanasema tunajifanya, wanasema tunakuja na malengo mingi, wanasema nyinyi mko privilege kule mko, and that has completely corrupted the value and the perception of us as diaspora. And so sometimes, and I'm trying to say this again, Chair, when you see these people sat here, when you walk away from here, the reason they even ask you for things like minutes is because we walk out of that door and we say, yes, another. Wamekuja wakasikiza, wataondoka, tutarudi tu tena hapa tena in another few months. So let's tackle that issue. Because even when you listen to a lot of the things that people are saying here, if you look at the common denominator, it is a value. And it's a value to the Kenyan government and the Kenyan executive, but also value from the Kenyan executive. So there's a two-way path here that is not being tackled. So my ask is that when you sit and look at all these people, before you say what you're going to do for them, is see their value. Because when you see their value, then it will drive what you're going to do for them. The same way these people see the value of Kenya, and then they drive their thought and their principles and their values to help the country. It is because they value. There is a value element. And I say this because I've tried to do business, for example, in Kenya, and I'm a data consultant. And when we go to corporates and tell them about data, half the time they don't listen. And this Anastasia here is also a data person, so she'll probably understand. They don't normally listen to you until I present to them and tell them that you have an issue with letters that are returned when you send them out to the customers. And then we look at how many letters have been returned, and then we quantify how much debt is out there. And when you now tell them that out of the 137,000 letters that were returned over your 6 million customers, you have a debt of 6.9 million pounds. All of a sudden, the value element comes in. And all of a sudden, when you tell them this software that I'm selling you is going to cost you £200,000 every year, and you need 2 or 3 experts who are going to work with it, and therefore your bill is about $500,000 every year, and they see that they can save 6.9 million, all of a sudden, money is found where there was no money. I go back to the very thing, the common denominator here is value. If you do not value, therefore you will not find the money. But if you value, you will say that those mobile stations that they're looking for, those mobile stations, we can make them happen. Because we are reaching those people who are hard to reach. We call them hard to reach communities here. We're reaching those hard to reach communities. You must facilitate a way to reach those hard to reach communities. And I like what that gentleman who talked about football has said. They don't do it because they're experts. You don't need to employ an expert here who is going to do community liaison. What you need are those people who are on the ground, facilitated and funded in some way, so that they can be able to provide those services to the local communities, because they're the most attached. Si ndio mashinani. Si mkifanya siasa mnawazungumza juu ya mashinani. Sorry for the people who don't understand Swahili. That is to say that the politicians themselves depend on the people who are in the community. They don't go to experts. When they want to rally the people to talk about politics, or to sensitize people about politics, they go to the Mama Mboga, they go to the guy who runs the Mkokotenis, they go to the guys who go to the local markets, because those are the people who are connected and networked. And again, we don't need to overthink this thing. I do politics here, and I'll give you a very good example of how we do this thing. During Brexit, the referendum was either stay or leave. Stay or leave. What we were doing was to talk to people door to door to explain to them why they need to come out and vote. Not whether they need to vote yes or no. It was to give them the value of their vote would mean this or that. And I remember in the constituency where I live, we knocked $12,000. $12,000 during that time in order to sensitize people about this. Our elections here, for any other person who's tried here, we don't knock every single door and talk to people about why they should vote us. We're a value-driven community. And I think that's the disconnect that I see between the diaspora and our communities in Kenya. Hence why, when we struggled so much to even ask for a diaspora executive, it took so long. But when we got one, everyone who sat here who has interacted with the embassies over the years, I've been here 24 years, and so many others here have been here for more than 2 decades. Everyone who has interacted with the embassy this year will tell you that there is a massive difference in the interactions that we have. Because we have one of our own, someone who understands, and someone who values our principles, our way of seeing things, and our way of addressing things. So my plea is, as you're coming up with the ideas, as you're feeding back to the mission, as you're feeding back to Kenya, the value proposition needs to be understood very clearly. Because that referendum that we are talking about, thank you very much for informing me. That referendum that we're talking about, that constituency, that county, is not going to happen unless there is funding. That's why they will go and sit and change the constitution for things that matter in Kenya, because they value it. When as you're saying, na hiyo si ni kitu ndogo bana, mbona hawachukui yetu wanachukua hizo? Thank you very much.
We got our youth that want to get Kenyan IDs and Kenyan passports. Some of them are British now, they want to take the Kenyan IDs and passports. I looked at the forms, and the forms are ambiguous. Some of our children don't know what Uko is. Some of our children don't know what Mulango is. You don't have to go to a post office anymore to go and get your British passport. You can get it at the fingertips of your own home. And our youths have their phones. This is something that can be done where they are. Then another thing is, they don't have kind of like a structured thing to tell them what they need to come and get their passports. My daughter came here to get her passport, and she was asked so many things, so she kept asking me. And then she was coming for the passport, but she was told she needs an ID first, so she got the ID. But while we were applying for the passports, she was asked for the KRA. Now, these are things that can be done, especially when you hand over these IDs. The ID can contain your KRA number, like the residency permits here for the people who have come here as carers and so on and so forth. When you come here, your residency permit comes automatically with your NI number, yes, and your hospital number and everything. So we can use technology to simplify these things to make life easier for our youth or for people who live here. Then that is simplification of forms. Now, some of our youths are doing so well in education, and some of them want to go and do placements in Kenya. For example, doctors want to go and practice in hospitals like Nairobi and so on and so forth, but they don't know where to go, where to start from. Like in Kenya, they say, oh, it's who you know. So Nairobi Hospital, I don't know anybody. Where do I start from? So these youths want to go and back home and give it back to the country where they've come from. And for our leaders, the councillors here, can we help our youths, empower them? And then the other last one is, because I'm a Turkana, I will talk about Turkana now. We've been affected as a community. Probably in a few years we were marginalized. It's just the other day I spoke with the ambassador that left that we were not even included in the meetings. When things happened here, we never knew what was going on, and that is when I was introduced to chairman. I didn't even know about the chairman, and he's my neighbor in Kitale. So I want to talk just something for the Turkanas as a community. As I'm now 50, and as a child, I kept hearing about people being killed, cattle rustling, bunduki, and so on and so forth. The rest of the Kenyan community are enjoying peace, tranquility, development. But with us, there's one thing that is making our people not to develop, faster like other communities. It's because of insecurity. If there's insecurity in a place, development, people don't want to develop there. Kwa sababu hakuna mtu anataka kwenda kukufa. Ukipitia kwa barabara, unasikia fulani aliuawa, magari kusimamishwa, watu walinyang'anywa, so on and so forth. Mwenye ako na pesa atafurahi na ndege, but the mere person mwenye hana pesa isifurahi na ndege. And in the Constitution of Kenya, it's enshrined that it's the responsibility of the country to ensure that it protects its people. Us as a community, we've not been protected. We've lost so many people. We want to go there and develop. We want to do things in Kenya. We have the biggest refugee camp probably in the whole world here, Kakuma refugee camp. But the Turkanas are still where they are. What is the government doing as a community? So we are crying as the diasporans of the Turkanas to see what the government can do to help us in this issue of security. Thank you.
The only place I've been to was in Lagos just for visitation. But this was just a place where I was brought. I was housed for 2 weeks. I did not have much money, but I was told to go and look for work for myself. In the contract, it was not indicated that way. So I will not prolong that long, ordeal and predicament. But the thing is, our companies back in Kenya, or those operating from here and recruiting from overseas, and I've seen a representative, one of them being Martha. I'm not putting you on the spotlight, but I would like the Kenyan government to at least offer protection against such, and offer ethical recruitment. They have monitoring tools that they will exactly see the pathway from Kenya until to other diaspora countries, be it in the UK or wherever else. The framework can be replicated elsewhere. So that was one point that I would really urge the Kenyan government to look into. I hear some of them are being conducted by people who are in positions of power. So even if you went to, hold them to account, for accountability, definitely, we are going to the same people who own those companies. And I think that is one of the reasons that has made many of the people suffer in the diaspora countries elsewhere. Me being one of them here in the UK. That is one, just to offer protections against the vices meted on Kenyans working abroad. And the other thing would be the pre-departure training. I heard someone say, I will not reiterate. Yeah, from Kenya, because once you go, when you come to a new country and you actually do not know exactly what is expected of you, what the weather is like, what the culture is like, so you're just going to go and find for yourself. You're just going and you actually do not have an idea of what happens. As a community advocate, I have seen so many cases of that nature and magnitude, and would like the Kenyan government to at least, for those people who are most vulnerable, like those people in Dubai and those Middle East countries and other places in the diaspora, to just have a monitoring tool. We have AI nowadays, and we can just monitor the pathway from the country of origin to wherever else, see whatever they're doing, the evaluation, and even when they come back to Kenya, or when they go back to Kenya, we have the reintegration modalities, so that at least they are reintegrated. In the UK, for example, the social care has been proposed to be ended in 2028. So in an ideal state, I think there will be a mass going back to Kenya in 2028 or going forward. How are we going to go back? Are we going to have go back with our experiences with no recognition? Are you going to offer recognition and offer, business opportunities back in Kenya? We also need social care in Kenya. So how are we going to transfer the knowledge, the set skills, and the experience amassed in the UK and other places going back to Kenya, and how are we going to tap on that and develop Kenya as it may. And the last one here would be, could we have also, I've not had it being specific, but could we have a labor attaché in the High Commission, specifically to handle the welfare of migrant workers, to have an emergency helpline where someone in distress can call 999 and they will be heard. So that is a very specific ask and a request to the Kenyan government to have a labor attaché or a migrant welfare desk at the High Commissions. With that, we thank you so much.
I've been listening to what everyone's been saying here, and most of the things that we're talking about security, we're talking about corruption in the sense of Mr. Bonnie there, and we're also talking about how do we know where people are, how do we communicate with the embassy, and also the lady from Turkana, you mentioned about security. And there's something that is very important connecting all this. it's about location. If somebody's in a village in Turkana and they need help, somebody's coming to take their wherever it is, how can the security forces or people get to them quickly enough? Well, how will they know where they are? And here in UK, we're very lucky. If I'm at home, a burglar comes in, or somebody's bothering me, and I need to help from the police, I just dial 999 and I give them my postcode. Sometimes they can even pick my line number to know where I'm calling from. Postcode is very essential. And since 2014, 2015, I've developed a system using existing infrastructure that we have in Kenya. The Independent Electoral Body Commission did a wonderful job of going around the country. They demarcated all the areas, and digitally you can actually see where the county is, the map of the county, the map of the county's constituency, and the map of the ward. So we developed a system where you can drop a pin in a ward, and you can get a postal code. It's just identifying you in that little area. Because ward is the smallest electoral location in our system. And I would like to put it to you to look into it. Because I've been to Kenya, I spoke to several people there. Like somebody said here, when you go to Kenya, you talk to over data, this and that, they're like, what are you talking about? I would like you to look into it, our postcode addressing system. That's precise. You can get everything today to have an address. That in case of emergency, hospital, security, you can be able to know where it is. In terms of businesses, we're doing businesses in people in Kenya. But if there's an issue, where is this guy? Where does he live? He has a PO box. How will you be able to get your lawyer or your legal staff to get, to investigate this information? And address is essential. KYC. That's why you find banking in Kenya is a little bit expensive, because they have to add that extra layer of cost, because they don't know their customers. So I live near, that particular building, or I live in that particular area. But if they know your address, which is verifiable, it reduces the cost of KYC. So I'll put it to you to look into it. I have a website already, rogersmith.com. If you guys can go and have a look at it. And it's easy, just to copy it, get possible.
So I'm Lama, and I'm a pharmacy student representing other students in the UK. And one of the first things that I wanted to talk about is how little involvement there is with the students. I get it, we're not necessarily sending remittances. However, when we graduate and we get jobs, we will be sending remittances, so please think about us. And I say that because 2 years back, when we had started doing these forums for students, one of the first things we were told were, hey, register with the High Commission. However, when you go to the High Commission page, we as the student section, there was nothing for us. The links didn't work. Thankfully, now it does work. However, that's the sort of thing where you say, hey, do this, but when you go to the website, when you go to actually carry out that activity, it's not there, or whatever's there is unavailable. And it's that guidance that we need, because all over media, we're told, hey, Kenyans, please look at our government's websites for everything, because that's where you get information. However, just this morning, I checked the scholarship website on the Diaspora Affairs page. There's nothing there. So when I tell a student, hey, you want to look for a scholarship, go to a government website, because that's where you get credible information. They go there, there's nothing. What are they going to do? They're going to go for other websites that you might be paying, scammers. They might tell you, hey, give me 10K, and that 10K is going wherever it's going, you're not going to get a scholarship. So having that information readily available and there, you don't have to do much, you don't have to do paragraphs. You could just link under scholarships, link to Chevening. Under police assistance, link to the police commissioners in the UK. Things like that, so that when the Kenyan comes to the website, they know, hey, this link that the Kenyan government is giving me goes to where I need to go to find the information that I need. And it's not something that's that labor intensive, it's just checking the contacts, making sure that it's correct. Now, second point that I had was about research opportunities. Now, in Kenya, we have this thing called NACOSTI, and that's where you register as a researcher in order to get a grant, license to carry out research in Kenya. The thing about that I've heard from other PhD students as well as people who do research between the UK and Kenya is that it can be a very time-consuming and bureaucratic activity to undergo. Because yes, we need bureaucracy to protect and give our Kenyans at home dignity when it comes to research so they're not taken advantage of. However, there is so much bureaucracy and activities where like one organization has activities that also another organization covers, and you have confusion on who is paying, who do you go to apply, who do you go to follow procedures, and it gets confusing. For example, there was a paper published in 2019 by UK Aid that had an example where NACOSTI and Kenya, KENIA, share coordination roles about priority setting and like reviewing research. And it's like, okay, on the website, NACOSTI is where you go for the licensing. However, you also have to then go to Kenya to then talk about licensing as well, and then there's a separate fee for each one, and it gets to the point where I've talked to researchers and they said some of the universities would rather go to Tanzania or Ethiopia rather than coming to Kenya, because there's so many different things you have to do, payments here, payments there, different following, that this is research money on the table and opportunities to work with other universities across the world that have been left. Thank you.
Much for the opportunity, which I agree, and all protocols observed. Again, welcome to the UK. We're happy to have you, and I'm sure you can see why it's important for this kind of visit. There's so much that I'm sure you probably do not know that you're learning. I'm Halima Ahmed, county from Nyeri. I didn't manage to say I was born in Gorengo in Nyeri, so yeah. And I'm from the Kenyan Diaspora Media. I've been able to have the opportunity to work with the communities through the chair and all other committees. So I think I'm very conversant with a few people here. Dr. Koyabe, the processes of whatever was happening, IEBC, everything, we were there to document, we were there to support. We do a program that is called the Voice of Kenyans in the Diaspora. And through that Voice of Kenyans in the Diaspora, we were able to inform the diasporans. I think that's where we started. That was a framework that was started by, if I may say, Councillor, Chair, Dr. Koyabe, and many other leaders in the UK to say, what can we do to be able to speak to our people? And that's how these programs were started. I would like to say that we play a big role as the Kenya Diaspora team. We play a big role in being able to liaise Kenyans to Kenya and companies from Kenya to the UK. But most important is working from grassroots within the communities here, like you've heard the gentleman talk about football. When they were trying to figure out what to do, they wanted to do, they just had the asset. We can play football, we can bring people together, we don't have the finances, we don't have the money, and they approached us. So we are a go-to place where activities can happen within communities in the diaspora, and we are able to connect either sponsors, the government, or any player that can be able to bring out an accommodating and also a successful integration between Kenyans in the diaspora and whatever they want to achieve. So we work closely with the young people playing the football. We are the ones that take them around the country, are able to find sponsors, do the matches, get the matches done, involve the communities to come and watch. And of course, you've heard about everyone speaking here about mental health. That's why that was started. Young people not knowing what to do, going astray, or just being very isolated. And that has really helped with young men especially. Chair Agri has spoken about Swahili lessons. Swahili lessons were also something like the young, people have talked about not being able to, when you speak Swahili. I've got a 30-year-old in my house. I'm lucky my mom was able to, to raise him more or less from 2 years old all the way to currently, I think the oldest is 26. So that shows you the interest, and that shows you that this is very effective. So mainly what I would say to encourage people is go through the communities, because that's where we also work from. We are proud to say that the Kenya Diaspora team only works through communities, because that's where to channel what we are able to do, because mainly our aspect and importance is to connect Kenyans to aspects of success for themselves. Now, young people talked about culture. Mainly, marriage, if they were to get married, they don't understand their culture, and that's a common thing. Even some of us also don't. I don't know half my culture. I have to keep on asking, but I'm grateful I'm much better off than the young people. So now we have had a lot of the similar, so they're coming here to tell you here, but we also have those who come via our website asking the same questions. So currently, we are actually intending to start running not just Swahili lessons, but main vernacular lessons from where we can be able to start. So that's gonna be, is going to come through Chair Agri and to the communities once that is done. There's also a program we call Nyanya Busara. It's gonna be coming out to the UK communities very soon. And Nyanya Busara is storytelling in Swahili, mixed up a little bit with a bit of English for the young ones. So that instead of them being on their tablets with something that's just English, they can start listening to stories. I remember my grandmother's stories. So Nyanya Busara is just meant to start, from the grassroots of very young children and start teaching them Swahili by storytelling. So there's that and much more, but the one main thing I would like to talk about, to say how all this can be beneficial is, say for instance, Kenya Airways, our flight. We have a regular article that comes up, but getting it just for, they've talked about, like our chair has also talked about being able to speak, teach people or let people have some information before coming into the UK about where to find this, where to go, signposting. Now that article has everything we do, because on our website, we have a section for search. Which embassy do you go to? What's the hotline to what country, what hotline, the embassy, the contact is there on the Kenya Diaspora website. But she doesn't know, and somebody else who's traveling tomorrow will not know, and the easiest way for them to find that out is if that article was on Kenya Airways. We give it to Kenya Airways for free, the people get the information. Things like that, easy and simple. I go to the Kenya Airways, there's probably their magazine, but does that articulate the needs that we are talking about here today? It doesn't. So those are the kind of things that we want to see, that when such meetings happen and we bring them forward, then the solutions were also given, because I think it was Ambassador Karem who told us last time, let's not come here and complain, let's come here and give solutions, because we have solutions. So there goes one solution, a solution that can be able to cover quite a lot, and I'm not speaking from the business aspect of it, but I'm speaking from the point of view of where I'm coming from with TKD and the things I've seen. Someone spoke there, the solutions that is bringing. Dr. Agri here, Chair Agri here, about Swahili lesson, the solution that is bringing. All the cultural values that we're going to add on Nyanya Busara and stuff that will bring to that, but how do they know? Unless our government can help us trickle that information in a way it can be found. So those are the connections that we as a team would also be looking for. There's much, much more, but I think for now, that just at least gives an aspect of what we'd like to see. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So yangu itakuwa machache, sorry, I will be emphasizing 2 points and suggesting something to the chairman. The Councillor for said a very pregnant point. And that point was about value. This embassy doesn't know us. It doesn't. the boy, the football boy, is gone. He was talking about something about football. The student representative said something about their problems. And mother has also said something about documents. The embassy doesn't know us. As mother said, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago is when this embassy knew that there are Turkanas in this country. So there's a problem there. To you, because you have had all these stories, or these are, complaints, I want to suggest to you, there were people who wanted to come to this meeting from Wales. And like you, me personally, and many of us, we live from hand to mouth in this country. We have bills, we have stress from people back home calling us for money, especially when you people in the counties delay the salaries. So even the chief officers call us for loans, and we're here with nothing. So I would suggest that you emphasize this to the embassy and also take this to the parliament, that we need to be valued. Point number one. Because of the lifestyle we experience here, most of the people here die of stress. So we want to be included in the embassy's budget. Take it to the parliament that we need diasporans at least benefit, even if it is a transport to come for these meetings, to go for national all-day celebration. If there was something like even a bus collecting some people from somewhere, this hall would have been even smaller. So I'm just emphasizing that you take it as doing a bit of legislation, like what you include on budget, one-day budgets for the embassy. I think, Chairman, another point I want to suggest to you is that London is expensive to come. If there was a variation of venues, one day we can do a meeting in Luton. There's a airport there. Chairman can fly to Luton so that we can consider budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Point of clarification. How many, just a few seconds? After Anne. Okay, so you go, and then you want to read it? Okay. Let her go first, and then you can read because you had a go.
Thank you.
You haven't used spoken already? Okay, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I've just observed a lot of things here, and I think this is something you can take as a parliamentarian. One thing that seems to be love and wanting for the diasporans to be part of what is going on in Kenya. And we, if I'm right, we would like to contribute towards what is happening at home. We've come here, we've enjoyed what happens here. We would like Kenya to be what we know here. That's what we would like. And I'm sure if we are given an opportunity to come and contribute, we would. Now, if I wanted to be a volunteer in Kenya, there's a lady who has asked about that. How can, in England, we take schools, children go to schools, from school places, they go and become volunteers in other countries and they contribute there. Now, that is facilitated by the government. We would like you to think of how can we borrow the experiences, the knowledge have come and had us have, how would you like those skills transferred to you? I know Kenya is a very, very developed country. It's the manpower in Kenya is very high. Very high. I'm not underestimating it. I'm only saying there's some things we may need to lend to them. We may need to transfer to them. There's some skills. How would you, as a parliamentarian, say, okay, I went to this country, and the people said they would like to come watufundishe yale wanayojua. Because you learn from your dad learned from your granddad, and so on. Knowledge is passed on. How can we have this opportunity to pass on this information? Plus the skills we have. Now, business-wise, we would like to transfer those skills. However, there's a difficulty. One, the registration of a business in Kenya is a nightmare. If I'm doing food production, for example, I'm thinking of avocado oil. My goodness, I have to deal with about 10 organizations, including some who look at my face and say, they literally remove their jacket and walk out of me. I am bringing business that's going to create opportunities in their homestead, but they walk out of me. You really feel diminished. Secondly, so your business registration is the most difficult process. If I want to register a business in England, I'll just sit in my house, do it, and I'm registered within 24 hours, as long as I pay. In Kenya, I'm going to go, I don't know, especially anything that can go KBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards. That takes about 120 days for me to be registered. Yet I have a product ready to go. So that's one thing that I would like you as parliamentarians to sit down and say, if I go to do a market, let's say I'm selling goods in let's say one of the boroughs, because we are divided in boroughs. Let's say, for example, on Nairobi. If I was registered in Nairobi as a business person supplying food, the local authority, that is Nairobi Council, would give me all the licenses, all of them, in one place. Like in Kenya, I have to go to Nairobi, all of them, I have to go. One, there's a lot of time wasted in my going those places. Number two, there's the economic and the financial impact on me. Three, I think, is it necessary for me? And I'm bringing business. Yet, and I'm going to pull you down on this one. If a Chinese comes to Kenya, you register that business within 90 days. I've done my research. Why are you discriminating against your own people and giving foreigners priority? Why are you doing that? That hurts me to the core. To the core. Because you're not valuing the business that's being brought by a Kenyan. You're taking us for granted. Secondly, when a Kenyan is growing rice, dengu, maharagwe, you don't give that Kenyan a priority to sell within the market. Munaleta maharagwe kutoka Uganda, Tanzania, na dengu from India. You cut down the farmer. You cut down the woman who's bringing them. Mheshimiwa, you come from an arid area. Would you love your people to take their cows from Nairobi, from your area to Nairobi, and they're bought straight away, wapata pesa waende wakauze, wakalipe school fees? They don't do that. The government is putting so many barriers for people to do good business in Kenya. It is extremely difficult. I cannot remove macadamia, siwezi kukuza Kenya. And I said it in Kenya. Why? Can I be told why I cannot grow a simple crop called macadamia in Kenya? Why can't I grow blueberries in Kenya? Why can't I do that? Because somebody somewhere has gone and said, you cannot, and yet macadamias are the most precious and expensive crop. Why can't you sell corrosion in Kenya? Why can Kenya grow corrosion? Why can't it sell it like Tanzania? Give me those examples. I would like you to turn around and value what you have in Kenya. Because we value them. How many of us bring unga from Kenya? How many of us bring bread? How many? Managu, terere. I bring managu and terere and kunde. I bring it here, dried. I will tell you as the truth. We carry dumas, we carry guaches, we carry mangoes because we want to identify with the country. Nigerians are bringing stuff here. Mbaka dried fish, right? They can even bring, somebody from Zimbabwe brings a caterpillar. A caterpillar that is part of their food. Tell me why he can't bring it. Don't give me that look because it's part of their food. Matumbo is a food that is disgusting in England. If I cook it in Kenya, in England, still have to hotel. I think it's here. So I'm just saying, I want you to start things. We want to bring in our knowledge, our skills, our experiences. Lakini tafadhali, I'm asking, can you open this one thing I have in Kenya, whereby diasporians who are coming for 90 days or 30 days because they're on 3 weeks leave and they want to do this, wakuja afanya kila kitu wanataka, then they go. The same, you open the same hub, every person leaving our country to every other country in England or wherever, the same hub would offer references, information regarding where they're going, who they can contact. That will stop the exploitation. Thank you for that.
It gets emotive, but we can be here all day, so please allow me to read through this. So I think it's been very clear from this discussion the depth of talent, experience, and expertise within diaspora. The room itself reflects just how much Kenya has drawn to globally. Remittances are clearly a success story, but they're one part of the picture. The big opportunity is how we translate diaspora skills, leadership, and experience into tangible growth within Kenya. The question many in the diaspora are asking is what would make it viable and attractive to return, invest, or actively contribute on the ground. That often comes down to trust, predictability, and the confidence in the systems, particularly around how business is conducted and the opportunities are accessed. As a personal case study for me, I've been trying to gain a mining license to mine in sectors. Sectors like mining highlight both challenges and the opportunity where, in the environment is right, the diaspora expertise and the capital within Kenya would lead to job creation and value addition. When it's not, the same expertise may be deployed in more predictable environments, such as Tanzania. Tanzania, for me, has been actually easier to get mining licenses to go and actually deal in mining and resources. So what I'd offer at this point is for consideration that if Kenya can create trusted and transparent and accessible pathways for the diaspora professionals to return, invest, and contribute, there's a significant opportunity to convert diaspora talent into job creation, value addition, and long-term growth. East or west? Always west. Thank you, sir.
You may want to take into consideration. And these are prayers that we've actually put across. So let me address these 3 things which I think would glue what's going on here. One is the issue of data. The information that is being collected by the Health State Department has not filtered completely into what you're seeing here. In fact, the Diaspora State Department has a website that has what we call the Diaspora Integrated Information Management System, which is called TIMS, that actually collects some of these queries. And I think, Chair, you're aware of it. They're following their policy. So that particular portal, and let's give credit to the State Department of Diaspora, they've done very well. You can actually express what you're saying. We even told the peers when we were there to put what we call a hub for the meeting. So if you go to Mutual House, they've got a set room where you can come with roughly about up to 30 people. You can sit with them, you can have, even if you want a projector, you want to have some conversation with specific state agencies as the problem that you said, they have what they call the one-stop shop. So this information is there. It's just that, as I said, Chair, that might not be filtering through into this particular area. The other point, Chair, is the issue around the Diaspora Summit, and I'm just going to be very brief on that. The Diaspora Summit in the Diaspora Policy 2024, please read through that particular. They've talked about the Diaspora Summit. Now, what that summit means is how do we collate all these ideas? Imagine you have an agri of the global Kenyan diaspora. So you have got all these communities that are aggregating towards one particular person, not person, but a particular apex, and that apex interfaces between ourselves and the government. And also that apex can be responsible to hold the IEPC and other agencies responsible. Because remember, when we agree here, who is going to follow up? Is it agri? I don't think so. Is it somebody from this particular audience? I don't think so. It is somebody who has to have the authority to do that. Chair, one prayer is that at the moment, the summit is a ad hoc. It has to be a statutory body that actually is nominated, is put in there with something that actually makes the authority look at what is happening. In terms of value, as said by our colleagues here, Chair, what I'm praying for is we have some ideas. Please allow us to be part of the process of modernizing the issues around DIMS, which has been integrated with the e-citizen. There is a component that is missing, especially integrating DIMS with IEPC. Because we don't want to be people seated here having to go to a particular embassy to do a verification of our registration. We can do that through e-citizen. But the ideas that we have here, including what you've seen from the technical people here, we could be able to give to that particular body that is doing that. So our prayer here, Chair, is that we are part of the solution. That's what we say. We don't want to be a problem, that we want to say people just problem. No. Chair, we are here to help. And as said by Madam, we can provide some good ideas, but give us the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
What is saying, that's what I wanted to say as a summary. There's lots of good things that are happening. UKCC was part during the reign of Manoa, and that is working. So if we go into what UKCC is doing today and get that impact, but we need somebody in the diaspora who understands us. We want to help you sort out our problems in the diaspora, not just the London nation, because we're just one nation, but there's so many nations, there's so many others, and there's Kenyans who are even in countries without a mission. So we are very aware of that. So whatever we're talking about here is not about the people in London. So we want this to disseminate, but the only way that information is able to get to wherever we want to do it, the resources, the rich human resource that you have in the room here, and the people that could not come, unless we have that apex that will come down to us to and disseminate that information to the people that need to be. It's very good if they stay in the website, but if it doesn't get to the right people, then there is nothing we are doing. And we are here willing to support. So work with us, and we will help you sort out the diaspora issues. All these things that we've raised here, we are here and we are willing and we have the solution. But give us the space is what we're asking for. Thank you.
And yet I commit my own resources in a lot of things, including even repatriating people back to Kenya. So we have got the goodwill, and we would just like the government to meet us at that point where we can change our country and move it to the next level. So, Mr. Anne, if you can finish for us, please let that be the last speaker, and then we can hand over to the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, parliamentary representatives. Thank you so much. I just wanted to wrap up everything, and what I loved is everything that everybody said, but the last three speakers. As a pastor, I want to say that there is a God who hears us, and there is a God who listens. And when we have our leaders who have had to take the opportunity to come and listen to us, common wananchi, is very important. Thank you for articulating our issues. I want to say, as somebody who's been coming here since Honorable Musheni Gatia, Honorable Manoa, Honorable Catherine Karemu, and now our Honorable Makolo. I like calling him Makolo, but Makolo. And For those who are very new, have been in the country, all these little girls are born in this country. So I'm a grandmother and I've been here around almost 30 years. I want to appreciate this house. The Bible says, you will see the latter glory will supersede the former glory. Initially when we started Wanachama, common Wananchi like us bringing young people here to knock on these doors, it was taboo. So we have seen gradual progress. Yes. So there used to be specific people who had to come, and that's where it went wrong. But as the structure has been formed, and as you say, since chairman and the others took over, now there's structure, there's protocol, we have a way to channel things. And today is a new beginning when we see young people are even being given platforms. I wanted to end by saying, for those who believe in the Bible, one time there was a man by the name of King David. There is something called the Cave of Adullam. And it talks about people who are distressed, people who are in debt, people who are disappointed, and people who are feeling hopeless. And they met this king in the Cave of Adullam, and they brought their problems. But there was solution focused, just like I've had everybody wanting to say we have a solution. As a head of safeguarding and somebody who advises governments, there is something we say co-production. In this country it's called co-production. We're calling it public participation. We call it co-production from the grassroots. If you can kindly, as Banis and Mr. Angry have said, and Councillor Jared and our doctor, what we have said, we just want you to give us that channel. Give us the opportunity. There is something we say every time. You say, we did it. We have the problems, the issues, but we also have the solutions. And you can progress with them to the next level. So I'm quite sensitive, it's religious needs. So I just want to say, because everybody was created by a heavenly being, or whoever you believe in, commit everything that we have presented. Commit our Kenya, our government and the leaders according to whatever you believe. Let's pray, let us take these needs to He who created that country, He who created us, He who has dispersed us. Because we are not the first immigrants to be dispersed all over. But as our hearts are continuing to be back in Kenya and praying, we can rebuild the wall. And I will not say much because otherwise I might end up saying amen. God bless you.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've had a very nice listening, because I think for us it's mostly to listen. Chair, a lot of things have been issued here, and the thing I love about this team is the way they're organized. We were encouraged and we met only two. Yes. We met only two people, and they say because of their bit of politics. But I think here the politics have been minimized and leadership has come out very well. And no wonder the governor of the whole comes from here. I just want to talk about two issues, and one of them, Chair, was raised when you were out. It's a very important issue. The case where he has been defrauded around 7 million.
About 7 million pension.
That's a lot of money, honestly. That's a lot of money. And what I can say is that we are ready to assist. If you are willing to share some of the details, we are ready to assist. We also have a legal team here. This guy is a very good lawyer from Kenya. But most importantly, I think you should not shy to even involve the team here, because that's a lot of money you have lost. And maybe from there, the culprits will learn that when we steal from these diasporians, they can also take charge from where they come from. Wakuwe wanaangalia na macho ingine, na hiyo uzi, for lack of a better word, itaisha. So I encourage you to really not shy, get the right help so that you can be able to get your money back. Secondly, many have said that like her, we came here through a recruitment agency, and she arrived here not akakuja akapewa mahali aishi 2 weeks na hata hakuna kazi. Sasa ni yeye alikuwa jitafutie nini. From our part, we have been very keen as our committee, because that committee is under us,
to make sure that the agencies are streamlined. But one of the problems that we have encountered is that there are Kenyans who go through these agencies knowing the dangers, especially the issue of Russia. Wengine walitoka Kenya wakijua vizuri wataenda kule wakuwe maofisa wa na wakakubali na wakusema, hata familia zao walijua vizuri that these people are coming from Kenya, they are going to Russia to fight in a war. And they came willingly. So those are some of the issues we're having, but as a committee, as the leadership in our country, we are willing to assist. Chair, kuna ingine pia amesema about the issue of research, and I agree with you. Before politics, I was a lecturer. Mimi nilikuwa mwalimu wa hesabu na actual science. Wow. Nilianza kufunza university kwa hawa. Msione kamwili kadogo, kichwa ni kubwa. And I agree with you on some of the issues of risk, and we're working on them. And when we go back home, we'll also be able to see how to assist. Chair, kuna mambo mengi sana imesemwa hapa, but the good thing about this meeting is that the issues you are speaking about, you have the solutions. Umesema pia umeongelea mambo ya ule kijana alikufia huko. Na pia umesema mambo yenye inaweza kuwa kwa mtandao. Honestly speaking, if in the website there was something to talk about the linkages when you come to London, this particular group that you are, if you connect with, itakusaidia hii na hile. I think that young man would have gotten the social network and would have been able kusaidika kwa mambo mingi. Kwa hayo chair, wote nifike pale na nashukuru sana. Looking forward. Chair agrees, yeye ndiye atakubali kwenda kule pia, we celebrate with you, we'll do that. Thank you, God bless you.
Kenya, which is composed of Kenyans who are interested in Kenya. Because see, when you are here, you can decide to forget about us, about Kenya. Because see, you know where you have come from, and you know where you are now. But even if you decide just to work and settle, work and have your life here, you can. But it's your concern that you want to make sure that Kenya is better than the way you left it. And remember your brothers and sisters who left in here. Because you see, if they are well, it means also it's joy to you, it's joy to become happy. It's joyous for you if your people down there have improved their life standards. There is a lot of bureaucracy in Kenya in the system of doing things. And I tend to believe that you are addressing the right people and the right committee. Because there are a number of people who come to visit, and you are given an opportunity to meet them. When you are given that opportunity, you give them all what you are given to us today. And then at the end of the day, it becomes a public relations work. Because we have not done wow, it's going to be channeled to the right forums. But it was, you know, what we have discussed today is going to form a report. And this report is going to be discussed in Parliament. But you see, we are here on a mission ourselves. We have funded, it's not just like the committees. No, in our assembly, we have different committees, of which some find that at the end of the year, they are having still money in the account, and that money is to be spent so that at least someone return it to the treasurer at the end of the financial year. And you see, those people sometimes you are only to address, and those also the members of the Parliament. But now, ours is work. We are here for work. We are not here for visit. We are here to hear what you are saying. We are here also to see if this mission is over. We are here to see if this mission needs to be published. So we are here for work. And now we are part of the mission. And diaspora is part of our mission. So when you hear the issues being discussed in the Kenyan Parliament, I'm very sure the report will be discussed in the Kenyan Parliament. You remember that all the issues which you raised you need an auditor, and you should come out with a form of, not just a report, to see after the report, kind of a bill for the station. And that registration is the one which actually the issues, all the issues we will talk about. Because we will talk about food, we will talk about health, but we will want to build, making all the issues which you have listed, from culture, from money, academia, all the issues you have listed. No one can be independent. How can a mission like this one, like embassy here, supposed to have some meeting money for any emergencies? I don't think so. Once all the time, I'm meant to understand that the issues we have raised, some of them, the missions used to have money for that purpose, even to someone in Essex, or like but as the economy, as we went on having difficulties in the economy, and money disappeared, but with some registration, some things cannot be reinvented. Out and back, so that we are okay. Now, the issue which I don't know, of course, when I was the days when I was thinking as what kind of a bill are we supposed to bring in to fit and make sure that the administration I was thinking of we want Article 48. Yes. That's one. How are we going to frame it so that it can at least make sure that all the diaspora in America, Australia, we are going to follow other people come. We are going to do that diaspora. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do it? Or those who are in the south. So that's it. We want to say that let's have our own because we have a different atmosphere compared to those ones in the north. So that's the kind of things which you require to come up with, so that at least at the end of the day, we must come up with a solution. We can't live on the problems always, yet we have that ability to address the problems. That's what I can tell you, and the issues will be addressed. Thank you very much.
We've taken note of everything that you've said. You've said we have a discussion with the embassy. There are things that are for the embassy, and there are things that we don't do back to the country. And I think most of the things you said are solution oriented. You just have to remind that there's a solution. The third actually mentioned some of the things are in place. We already have information. Last year we gave funding to the State Department for this sector. In Africa now we have a call center, which is operational 24 hours. Whether you call if you're outside the country or you probably if you're inside the country, the call center. There are space, as I said, if you visit the country, you walk in, you have a space to do your own things. If your business decision now can be done in that place, one is to show that for the diaspora. It's there. And all this now because of the State Department. They are trying to place. So these are the things probably the diaspora don't have information about.
Yes.
And now we are picking it that look, now once we go back, we tell the State Department, give this information to all the embassies so that they can now do a bulletin on dispatch.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. Because you can arrive there and it's a fully fledged post. You walk there, nobody tells you to pay the rent or anything. you can utilize that space. Call centers are there. Kenyans are employed to save calls. So these are things probably Agri knows. So I think even in your own circles, there's information that you can share it a little bit. It's there. And as a committee, we felt that we need that space. It's an upper hill. We gave money actually for petitioning and all kind of stuff. So these are things that are there, not 100%, but most of the things that you're talking about somehow in place. What you lack is protection. It should have been posted on the website for the diaspora state department that if you come to the country, it's A, B, C, D. Everything is scattered for here. All that's what's missing. So that we go to tell them to ensure that information is cascaded to the diaspora. Issue of representation, referendum. We want a representation at the Senate or the National Assembly. Agri was there last. The Third was there last time when the speaker spoke in that meeting. If you want a diasporian to be in Parliament or to be in the National Assembly or Senate, then you cease to be a diaspora because you have to work inside the country. You can't be here and say you are representing them in the Senate or in the National Assembly and you are in diaspora. So there are some of the things that also the law doesn't allow. But it's something that can be discussed at at broader level. How do you represent? That means maybe somebody, once you are in the parliament, that means you have to work in Kenya. But you can be there probably representing the diaspora people. So some of these are one of the things that, they say the law is an ass. It doesn't work the way you want. But something that can be considered in the future, how we can engage. So we've had all these things. And remember, the government has tried because we have a state department. It never used to exist before. If this state department was there probably in the last 15 years, by now we'll have had everything in place. But now it's just a new state department. And it's already done this much. It needs to do so much. So it requires also a lot of input from us, those in the country and those outside the country. What I've picked mostly is that we as a committee know this thing exists. The people it's supposed to serve don't know. So there's an information gap.
Yeah.
That is not there. So I think that is something that we will tell them to work it out through the various embassies and also to work out with the various chairpersons in each of the countries so that this is available. Even the government says it's a one-stop shop for others. Now for the diaspora, you go to the upper hill office, there's a desk there. Anyway, we're back. We've listened, we've documented, we go back, we have a discussion with the State Department and the ministry itself, so that we tell them this is what the views of Kenyans out there. So I'm happy that at least all of you are solution oriented. So keep the momentum, and this we try our best to ensure that we fund the State Department so it can serve Kenyans living out there. That's what we need to do. And they're trying their best. Last time we told them, why do you want to have desk officers to be employed from Kenya, go and serve in various missions? They say, go and scout from among the diasporians in that area, and they can serve as desk officers. It's simple. Instead of employing desk officers and bring them to the missions here, they can do skills recruitment within here, cost effective. And you don't even require the same amount of money that that person in Kenya would require to be given from here. Who can literally be doing his own job and be engaged. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do. When they tell us we want funding to deploy, they tell us, no need, engage those of the diaspora, put among them themselves. where you can. So these are some of the things that we have in discussions on. And we're having a meeting related with the ministry from the 23rd, 26th of this month. So these are some of the things that we discussed on how do we get it. So otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I know it's not easy to travel from various places to get here. We've taken not in vain, but we ensure that we take your voices to those who are not here, especially that we have a retreat with them and we discuss that with them. The issue of those who are not here, whatever, let's also utilize technology. I mean, we can have a say in good time that we'll have a meeting, it is zoomed, and everybody can watch and hear.
Yeah.
So it's possible. So that there's no point of trying to get everybody here if they can't make it. But if we make arrangements in good time and say we have a meeting, this date, and this is the venue, this is the Zoom password or something, the Diapora embassy, it's done. So the few congregate, then the rest can be on a screen. It's possible. Instead of people coming. So I think next time that's what probably we can do. But otherwise, asanteni sana, thank you very much. For us, we'll be here until we finish also our work. Monday, Tuesday, tutakuwa within the embassy now to do our normal oversight role, see that what we've come for also is achieved. But asanteni sana, we've heard you, and we ensure that your voices are taken back. Sorry for what happened to our brother. I'm sure our clerk has noted those details. We even asked as a committee, we were able to intervene. In part of our discussion, we should go back to the committee as an agenda. See how best we can be able to So I think if there's something that you have some proper information or communication copies, challenge to our secretariat. And then once we sit, then we do an agenda.
Thank you very much.
Please. So that we see how we best do it. Otherwise, tunasema asante sana. Our meeting now. Let's go back.